Chaos at U.S. airports welcomed Donald Trump's first effort to ban immigrants from 7 mostly Muslim nations. Despite setbacks in court, Trump is making it clear he is regrouping and will continue his fight for a ban.
We will not allow our generous system of immigration to be turned against us as a tool for terrorism and truly bad people.
He could pursue legal channels through the court system or file a new executive order travel ban as early as Monday. Meanwhile, this is the scene across the United States. In at least a half a dozen states, Immigration and Custom Enforcement Agents, or ICE, are taking illegal aliens into custody. Critics allege the raids are netting more than just repeated felons, but also targeting citizens who have long lived in the U.S., like Guadalupe Garcia, who was deported to Mexico after being in the United States 20 years.
I've been doing all this for my children, for them to have a better future and for their dreams not to die.
The new Director of Homeland Security says authorities are just doing their job.
If there are laws on the books that are bad laws, then change them. But people like me, CVP, ICE, local law enforcement, we have no alternative but to enforce the law. We can't ignore the laws.
Critics are calling the raids, quote, the first wave of attacks under the Trump administration, and say they are bracing for more. The Hispanic Congressional Caucus in Washington, D.C. wants to meet with immigration authorities, and Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro wants to know more, saying, I am asking ICE to clarify whether these individuals are in fact dangerous, violent threats to our communities and not people who are here peacefully, raising families and contributing to our state. I will continue to monitor this situation.
We also discovered a bit of fake news regarding the climate. Blockbuster revelations out of the NOAA that scientists conspicuously manipulated temperature data to, quote, discredit the notion of a global warming hiatus. In other words, fit the narrative that global warming is real, even if the evidence doesn't verify it. We just received a foot of snow here in New York City, so Waters World decided to go out in search of global warming. No. Oh! What do you think about all this global warming?
It's for the birds.
You're for the birds. You know what I call all this?
Winter Wonderland?
Global warming.
It's climate change.
You know what I call climate change? The seasons. A lot of global warming out here.
As I see, as I feel.
It is winter, though, so this is what happens in winter, they say.
Occasionally you do have snowstorms in winter, Gussie. That's what I'm told. That's what Janice Dean tells me.
There is no global warming. I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in it? Oh, Al Gore's going to come find you.
Quiet. A whale is in trouble. I have to go.
Pretend it's Al Gore. Oh, you missed! You throw like a girl. I'd actually like a little more global warming. This is a little too cold for me.
Global warming has bad consequences.
Like what? I can go to the beach like all year? You just don't want to see me with my shirt off.
Well,
What do you think Al Gore's thinking about right now?
He's probably in someplace really warm.
It's probably in some island on his jet.
Exactly.
What do you
no carbon emissions from that jet, by the way.
There are always people who are going to try to aim at the messenger if they don't like the message.
Anything you want to tell Al Gore?
Have a great guy on day and night and weekend and a good snow.
What are we going to do about this global warming?
I don't know. Maybe your president could do something.
Ooh. He's your president, too.
No, I'm from Finland.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You know whose fault all this snow is?
Who's that?
Trump's.
It's always Trump's fault.
Everything else is Trump's fault.
Give me a break.
A powerful earthquake in the southern Philippines has killed at least 6 people and injured nearly 100 others. The earthquake measured a magnitude 6.7, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. It shook the country's southern region late on Friday. The quake's epicenter was close to the city of Surigao at a relatively shallow depth of 11 kilometers. Hundreds of residents fled to safety as buildings were damaged and power supply was cut off. Officials say nearly 100 aftershocks have been felt. Schools have been used as evacuation centers for those affected.
Iran security forces have arrested 8 terrorists during operations around the capital Tehran and some western provinces. Now, Intelligence Minister Mahmoud Alavi said detainees aimed to launch attacks on the occasion of the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution celebrated on Friday. He added that all the terrorists are foreign nationals and important elements of Takfiri groups. And he noted that terrorist groups stationed in some neighboring countries were guiding the planned attacks. Top Iranian intelligence officials said the future information on those arrested and their failed terror operations will be announced after security procedures have been completed.
Iraqi police clashed with demonstrators loyal to Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Shard in Baghdad on Saturday. Thousands took to the streets to demand the commission responsible for overseeing local elections scheduled this year be overhauled. Al-Sadr accused the commission of corruption and called for the members to be changed. Security forces allegedly used live ammunition and tear gas to disperse the crowds. According to law enforcement and hospital officials, 1 police officer was killed, while 7 others and dozens of protesters were injured.
And turning to Angola now, at least 17 football fans were killed and dozens injured in a stampede at a stadium on Friday. The tragedy occurred when hundreds of fans stormed the stadium gates in the northern city of Uige. State news agency Angop reports the crowd pushed against barriers after failing to gain entry before the start of a First Division League match. Many fell and were trampled on, some suffocated in the crush. Witnesses say the crowd trying to gain access would have taken the stadium past its 8,000 capacity. Angola's president has ordered an investigation into the incident.
Local Afghan authorities say at least 8 people have been confirmed dead and 20 others wounded in a suicide bombing. The attacker blew himself up next to a bank in Lashkar city in southern Afghanistan's Helmand province on Saturday. A provincial government spokesperson said the bomber was among those killed and the victims included civilians and security personnel. The Helmand province has been the scene of fierce fighting between government forces and Taliban militants over the past few days.
The United Nations says it is ready to support Kenya after the country declared its drought a national disaster. The UN statement came Friday, the same day Kenya called for aid to counter the current drought. The Kenyan government said over 2 million people are in urgent need of food assistance. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization warned the country is facing a severe drought and with it rise in a food insecurity. The drought has affected 23 out of 47 countries, posing a major risk to people, livestock and wildlife. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta called on all stakeholders to support the government by upscaling drought mitigation programs.
Other stories this hour: clashes have erupted between Bahraini forces and anti-government protesters in the streets of Bani Jamra. Police used tear gas to disperse the demonstrators, who in turn threw handmade firebombs at Bahraini troops. There were also similar protests in several other regions of the Persian Gulf Kingdom. Angry protesters were denouncing the killing of 3 activists by the hand of Bahraini authorities. Manama alleges that they were linked to a prison break that took place last month. Bahraini regime, backed by Saudi Arabia, has killed dozens of anti-government activists since the start of the popular uprising back in 2011.
Plans for the erection of a permanent security barrier around Tower. According to the French daily newspaper Le Parisien, the wall will be made of bulletproof glass and will stand 2.5 meters tall. But the wall will mean tourists will no longer be able to wander freely under the tower and must instead pass through security gates to enter the secure compound.
Having a reflection on how we can enhance security of Eiffel Tower, but also enhance the combination of the monument and the landscape around, the environment around. And we thought one of the solutions may be to have glass panels around two of the pillars of the Eiffel Tower, which are the one used to enter into the Eiffel Tower, because it combines like protection and elegance, and it allows to look at what is around, and we have two small, very beautiful gardens. So we think that it's a kind of modern way of protecting an important building of ours.
Turkish media are reporting that the country's Supreme Election Board has announced a constitutional referendum will be held on April the 16th. The broadcaster NTV said President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has approved constitutional amendments on Friday. According to the amendments, the president will exercise all the authorities of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The president will also hold the power to issue decrees, appoint vice presidents and cabinet members from outside the parliament.
Rescuers have attempted to refloat around 100 stranded whales on Saturday in northwest end of New Zealand's South Island, Golden Bay. Over 300 carcasses littered the beach after one of the country's largest recorded masked whales stranded. A local broadcaster said 120 whales had been refloated Friday by the high tide by lunchtime, but 90 beached again as the tide embedded. Another pod of 200 whales had also arrived in the area by Saturday.